The Galactic Federation had ruled the stars for 12,000 years. They had conquered over 400 species. They had never lost a war. They believed they were the masters of all creation, the pinnacle of galactic civilization. Their fleets numbered in the millions. Their armies were endless. Their technology was so advanced that lesser species seemed like insects in comparison. Then they met humanity. Ambassador Crixtal of the Veloran species stood in the observation deck of the Federation flagship, the Eternal Dominion. His blue scales shimmered under the artificial lights as he watched the small blue planet below. Earth, the humans called it, a small world orbiting an average yellow star in an unremarkable corner of the galaxy. It should have been insignificant. It should have been just another conquest in the Federation's long history. But something about this world troubled him deeply. High Admiral Zethorn, commander of the Federation fleet, stood beside the ambassador. His gray skin was wrinkled with age, and his 4 eyes showed no emotion as he looked at the planet below. He had commanded hundreds of invasion forces. He had broken species that thought themselves invincible. He had never known failure. "They have rejected our final offer," Crixtal said quietly. His voice echoed in the vast observation chamber. "They say they would rather die than become slaves to the Federation." Zethorn made a sound of disgust. It was a harsh, clicking noise that conveyed his contempt perfectly. "Foolish creatures, they have no idea what they face. We have 1,000 ships in orbit, they have perhaps 50. Their largest vessel is smaller than our patrol craft. This will not be a war, it will be an execution." "Perhaps," Crixtal replied, but he did not sound convinced. The ambassador had spent 3 standard cycles studying the humans during the negotiation process. He had read their history. He had watched recordings of their wars, their struggles, and their triumphs. He had analyzed their art, their literature, their philosophy, and what he had seen had disturbed him more than anything he had encountered in his 200 years of diplomatic service. "Admiral," he said carefully, "I recommend caution. These humans, they are not like other species we have conquered." Zethorn turned his 4 eyes toward the ambassador. Each eye moved independently, studying Crixtal from different angles. "Explain." "Their history is filled with violence," Crixtal said. "They have spent most of their existence fighting each other. They have weapons designed specifically to cause maximum suffering. They have fought wars over ideas, over resources, over simple differences in appearance. They have killed billions of their own kind in conflicts that lasted for generations." "This only proves they are savages," Zethorn replied dismissively. "Primitive beasts who will crumble when faced with true power. Their internal fighting has weakened them. They have wasted their strength on petty squabbles instead of preparing for real threats." "No, Admiral, you misunderstand." Crixtal's voice grew serious. "They fight each other because they have no external enemy worthy of their attention. They are like predators in a cage, turning on each other because there is nothing else to hunt. But give them a common foe, give them something to unite against." He paused. "I fear what will happen when that occurs." Zethorn laughed. It was a cold, mechanical sound that echoed off the metal walls. "Let them unite. Let them throw everything they have at us. Our shields will hold against any weapon they possess. Our weapons will devastate their cities. In one standard day, this planet will be burning and its people will be in chains." "There are other concerns," Crixtal pressed. "Their biology is unusual. They are one of the few species we have encountered that can survive in almost any environment. Extreme heat, extreme cold, toxic atmospheres, even radiation levels that would kill most other life forms. They are remarkably difficult to kill." "All the better," the Admiral replied. "Difficult to kill means difficult to damage through labor. They will make excellent slaves." Crixtal fell silent. He knew that further argument was useless. The Admiral's mind was made up. The invasion would proceed. But as he looked at the blue planet below, he felt a strange sense of dread. Something was wrong here, something the Federation had not prepared for. On the planet below, Humanity prepared for war. General Sarah Chen stood in the command center of Earth's defense network, located deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. She was 53 years old, with gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen too much death. She had served in 3 wars during her career, all of them against other humans. She had lost friends, family, and part of her soul on countless battlefields across the globe. But she had never faced anything like this. The screens around her showed the Federation fleet in orbit, 1,000 ships, each one capable of destroying a city with a single weapon discharge. The largest among them, the Eternal Dominion, was the size of a small moon. Its hull was dark and smooth, designed for both beauty and function. According to the Federation's broadcasts, it had survived direct hits from weapons that could crack planets. Earth's entire military could not scratch its hull. "General," said Colonel Marcus Martinez, her second in command. He was a tall man with dark skin and tired eyes. He had been by her side for 20 years. "The last civilian evacuations are complete. All non-essential personnel have been moved to the underground shelters." "How many?" 8 billion, more or less. Every major city has been emptied. Every bunker is at capacity. The rest—" He paused, his voice catching slightly. "The rest chose to stay. They want to see the sky when the end comes." Sarah nodded slowly. She understood. Some people would rather die on their feet than live in holes underground. She respected that choice. She had made the same choice herself. "And our forces?" "All Terran Marine divisions are ready and in position. Every soldier who could hold a weapon has volunteered. We have 200 million troops standing by across all continents. Air defense networks are active. Naval forces are deployed. Everything we have is ready." Sarah looked at the screens again. 200 million soldiers against a fleet that could burn the planet to ash from orbit. It seemed hopeless. It seemed impossible. But humans had faced impossible odds before. "Colonel," she said, "show me Project Prometheus." Martinez hesitated. His hand hovered over the console but did not touch it. "General, the Council has not authorized the deployment of Prometheus. They believe it is too dangerous, too unpredictable. They want to negotiate further." "The Council is hiding in a bunker hoping for a miracle. I am not in the mood for politics." Sarah's voice was iron. "Show me Prometheus, now." The colonel nodded and typed a command. The main screens changed, showing a hidden base deep beneath the Antarctic ice. It was massive, larger than any military installation ever built on Earth. Inside, rows of massive metal containers stood silent and waiting. Each container was the size of a building. There were thousands of them. "Project Prometheus," Martinez explained, though he knew the general was already familiar with it. 20 years of development in complete secrecy. The Council believed we might face an alien threat someday. They wanted insurance. Sarah studied the data on the screen. Her eyes widened as she reviewed the technical specifications once again. Even now, knowing what she knew, it seemed impossible. "This changes everything," she whispered. "It changes nothing," Martinez replied heavily. "We have no way to deploy Prometheus. The aliens have complete orbital superiority. Any ship we launch will be destroyed before it leaves the atmosphere. Any attempt to transport the equipment to a launch site will be detected and eliminated." "Who said anything about ships?" Sarah asked. A strange smile crossed her face. It was not a pleasant smile. "General, tell the Marines to prepare for a ground assault. All units, all positions, full combat readiness." She turned to face her second in command. "And get me a connection to the Federation flagship. I want to speak with whoever is in charge up there." Martinez stared at her. "You want to speak with them? General, what are you planning?" "I'm planning to give them one chance to leave. And when they refuse, I'm planning to show them what humanity is really capable of." On the Eternal Dominion, Admiral Zethorn received the communication request with amusement. The humans wanted to talk. Perhaps they had finally seen reason. Perhaps they were ready to beg for mercy. He had seen it countless times before, the moment when a conquered species realized the hopelessness of their situation and submitted. He accepted the call. The image of a human female appeared on the screen. She was small by Federation standards, barely half the size of a proper adult. Her skin was the color of weak tea, and her eyes were like two dark stones set in a face lined with age. She looked tired. She looked old. She looked defeated. But when she spoke, her voice was steady as steel. "I am General Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. I speak for all of humanity." Zethorn leaned forward in his command throne. "Have you come to surrender, human? Have you finally understood that resistance is futile?" The human general smiled. It was a strange smile, full of secrets and hidden knowledge. "No, Admiral, I have come to give you one final chance. Leave our solar system now and we will let you live. Stay and you will all die." For a moment, the bridge of the Eternal Dominion was completely silent. Every officer, every crew member stared at the screen in disbelief. Then Zethorn burst into laughter. Around him, his officers joined in, their alien voices creating a chorus of mockery that filled the vast bridge. "You threaten us," Zethorn said when he could speak again. "You, with your primitive ships and pathetic weapons, you dare to threaten the Galactic Federation." "I do not threaten," General Chen replied calmly. "I promise. You have 1 hour to leave. After that, the only Federation vessel remaining in this system will be debris." The screen went dark. Zethorn sat in stunned silence for a long moment. Then he turned to his officers with fury in his 4 eyes, each one blazing with rage. "Prepare the invasion force," he ordered. "I want every soldier we have on those landing craft. We will teach these humans the price of arrogance. We will burn their cities and enslave their children. We will make them beg for death before we grant it." Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, General Chen watched the Federation fleet begin to move. Thousands of landing craft separated from the larger ships, each one carrying hundreds of alien soldiers. Millions of them, descending toward Earth like a swarm of locusts. "They're coming," Colonel Martinez said. "Estimated time to landing, 45 minutes. Sarah nodded. "Good. That gives us time to prepare a proper welcome." She pressed a button on her console. Across the planet, deep underground bunkers received her signal. Doors that had been sealed for decades began to open. And the Marines began to suit up. The landing craft descended through Earth's atmosphere in perfect formation. Each vessel was a masterpiece of Federation engineering, capable of deploying hundreds of soldiers in seconds. Inside, those soldiers prepared for battle. They checked their weapons. They reviewed their assignments. They talked in low voices about the glory they would win. Lieutenant Caltex of the Vorashi shock troops sat in the command section of his transport. His green chitinous armor gleamed under the dim lights. Around him, 50 of his fellow soldiers waited in disciplined silence. They were veterans, all of them. They had conquered a dozen worlds together. "Remember your training," he told them. "The humans are primitive and weak. This will be a simple operation. We land, we secure the population centers, and we eliminate any resistance. By this time tomorrow, this planet will belong to the Federation." His soldiers clicked their mandibles in agreement. They had heard the briefings. They had seen the intelligence reports. The humans had no significant military capability. Their weapons could barely penetrate basic Federation armor. Their soldiers were soft and fragile, made of weak flesh and breakable bones. This would be easy. The transport shuddered as it entered the lower atmosphere. Through the small windows, Caltex could see the blue sky of Earth giving way to gray clouds. Below, a large city spread across the landscape. The humans called it New York. According to the intelligence reports, it was one of their largest population centers, home to millions of the creatures. 2 minutes to landing, the pilot announced. "No hostile activity detected. Repeat, no hostile activity. The landing zone is clear. Caltex felt a moment of disappointment. He had hoped for at least some entertainment. A few humans trying to fight back with their primitive weapons would have been amusing. Instead, it seemed they had given up completely. The transport touched down in what appeared to be a large open space in the center of the city. The humans called it Central Park. According to intelligence, it would normally be full of civilians enjoying the sunshine, walking their domestic animals, engaging in recreational activities. But when the doors opened, the park was empty. Caltex led his soldiers out of the transport, his weapon raised and ready. The grass was green. The trees were tall and healthy. Birds sang in the branches overhead, but there was not a single human in sight. "Where are they?" one of his soldiers asked nervously. "Hiding," Caltex replied. "Cowering in their buildings like the cowards they are. We will drag them out soon enough." Similar scenes played out across the planet. Federation transports landed in every major city on every continent. Millions of alien soldiers deployed into empty streets and abandoned buildings. They expected screaming civilians and desperate resistance. They found nothing. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Admiral Zethorn watched the reports with growing confusion. His tactical displays showed successful landings across the planet. His soldiers had taken control of every major population center, but something was wrong. "Where are the humans?" he demanded. "Our sensors showed billions of life signs before the landing. Now they have vanished. Where did they go?" "Perhaps they are hiding underground," Ambassador Crixtal suggested. He had remained on the flagship, watching the invasion with growing unease. "The humans have extensive tunnel systems beneath their cities. Subway networks, utility corridors, bunkers left over from their internal wars." "Then we will smoke them out," Zethorn replied. "Order the ground forces to begin securing the cities. I want prisoners. I want to know what these creatures are planning." But before the order could be given, something happened. In New York, Lieutenant Caltex was leading his troops through the empty streets when the ground beneath them began to shake. At first, he thought it was an earthquake. Some planets were geologically unstable. It was nothing unusual. Then he saw the pavement crack and split. And then the humans came. They erupted from beneath the street like demons rising from hell. They were covered in strange armor that glowed with inner light, a light that seemed to pulse with barely contained power. They moved faster than anything Caltex had ever seen, faster than his eyes could track. And their eyes, visible through transparent faceplates, burned with terrible fire. "Open fire!" Caltex screamed. His soldiers responded instantly. Energy beams lanced toward the emerging humans, beams that could punch through starship armor. But the beams simply bounced off the human armor like rain off stone. The energy was absorbed, dissipated, rendered harmless. The humans kept coming. The first Terran Marine reached Caltex before he could react. She was a female, small by Federation standards, with skin the color of bronze and hair as black as space. She moved like lightning, her armored fist connecting with his chest. The blow should have done nothing. Caltex's armor was designed to withstand artillery fire. It had protected him on a dozen worlds, but the human's punch went through it like paper. He felt his chest plate shatter. He felt his internal organs rupture. He felt himself flying backward through the air. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was the human female turning toward his soldiers. She was smiling. Across Earth, the same scene repeated itself millions of times. Federation soldiers who had expected easy prey found themselves facing nightmares. The Terran Marines were everywhere. They came from underground tunnels, from buildings, from places no one had expected. They emerged like ghosts and struck like gods. And they were unstoppable. The Federation weapons that could level cities did nothing to the strange armor the humans wore. The aliens' superior numbers meant nothing when a single human could defeat 100 soldiers. Their advanced technology was useless against enemies who moved too fast to target. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Admiral Zethorn watched his invasion crumble in real time. "This is impossible," he whispered. "What are these creatures? What are they wearing?" Ambassador Crixtal had been studying the sensor data with growing horror. His blue scales had turned pale with fear. "The armor," he said quietly. "Admiral, the armor is not made of any material I recognize. The energy readings are off the charts. Admiral, these humans have harnessed a power source beyond anything the Federation possesses, beyond anything we have ever seen." "That's impossible. They are primitives. They barely have faster-than-light travel. Where did they get such technology?" "I don't know, but Admiral, we need to retreat. We need to regroup and—" "We will not retreat," Zethorn roared. "We are the Galactic Federation. We have never run from a fight. Order the fleet to begin orbital bombardment. If we cannot take this planet, we will destroy it." Crixtal grabbed the Admiral's arm. "If you do that, you will kill 8 billion sentient beings. The Council will have your head. The Council will understand. These humans are a threat to everything we have built. They must be eliminated at any cost." But before Zethorn could give the order, the sensor officer screamed. "Admiral, unknown contacts emerging from the planet's surface." The screens showed bright lights rising from Earth. Hundreds of lights. Thousands of lights. They moved with impossible speed, racing toward the Federation fleet faster than any ship could travel. "What are those?" Zethorn demanded. The sensor officer's voice shook with terror. "They appear to be humans, Admiral. Humans in the same armor as the ground forces. They are flying toward us." The Marines had come to space. General Sarah Chen watched from her command bunker as Project Prometheus proved itself beyond all expectations. The armor suits had worked perfectly. 20 years of secret research had paid off beyond her wildest dreams. The suits were based on technology recovered from a crashed alien vessel decades ago. Not a Federation vessel, something older, something far more advanced. The craft had been found buried in the Antarctic ice, ancient beyond measure. Scientists had spent years trying to understand its technology. They had finally succeeded. Each suit was a self-contained weapons platform. It enhanced the wearer's strength by a factor of 1,000. It could withstand the heat of a star's surface. It allowed flight at speeds that defied physics. And it was powered by a source that seemed to draw energy from the fabric of reality itself. They had built 200 million of them, one for every soldier who had volunteered to fight. Now those soldiers were rising to meet the Federation fleet. "General," Colonel Martinez said, his voice filled with wonder, "they're reaching the enemy ships. There. General, they're tearing them apart with their bare hands." Sarah watched the screens. She watched her Marines, her beautiful, terrifying Marines, punch through the hulls of Federation warships like they were made of tissue paper. She watched them rip apart weapon systems and engine arrays. She watched them enter the vessels and battle through corridors, unstoppable juggernauts against which no defense could stand. And she smiled. The Federation soldiers tried to fight back. They poured everything they had at the invaders. Energy weapons, kinetic projectiles, plasma cannons, disruptor beams. Nothing worked. The Prometheus armor absorbed it all, converted it to energy, made its wearers even stronger. "Patch me through to the Federation flagship," Sarah ordered. "I believe Admiral Zethorn might be ready to talk." On the Eternal Dominion, chaos reigned. The ship shook as something impacted against its hull, then again, and again. Alarms screamed from every console. Crew members ran in panic through the corridors. "Hull breach on decks 12 through 40, someone shouted. "Security teams are not responding. The humans are inside the ship." Zethorn could not believe what he was seeing. His flagship, the mightiest vessel in the Federation fleet, was being invaded by creatures that should have been insects beneath his feet. His soldiers were dying by the thousands. His empire's power was crumbling around him. Through the observation windows, he could see his fleet burning. Ship after ship exploded as humans tore through their hulls. Some of the larger vessels were being physically dragged out of formation by groups of Marines working together. It was madness. It was impossible. "Admiral," the communications officer said, his voice trembling, "the human general is requesting to speak with you." Zethorn wanted to refuse. He wanted to order his ships to fight to the last soldier. He wanted to die with honor rather than face this humiliation. But then he looked at the screens. He saw his fleet dying. He saw his soldiers being slaughtered. He realized that continued resistance would only lead to total annihilation. For the first time in his long life, Admiral Zethorn knew fear. "Put her through," he said. General Chen's face appeared on the screen. She looked exactly the same as before, tired, old, determined. But now there was something else in her eyes: victory. "Admiral Zethorn," she said, "I gave you 1 hour to leave. That hour has passed. Now I am offering you a different choice." "What choice?" Zethorn asked. His voice was broken, the arrogance stripped away. "Surrender unconditionally, and I will allow you and your surviving forces to live. You will release all species currently enslaved by the Federation. You will dismantle your military and submit to human oversight. And you will ensure that every world in your Federation knows what happened here today." "And if I refuse?" Chen's smile was cold as ice. "Then my Marines will continue doing what they are doing now. In approximately 15 minutes, every ship in your fleet will be destroyed, every soldier will be dead, and the Galactic Federation will cease to exist." Zethorn looked at the screens one more time. He saw Federation ships exploding in chains of fire. He saw escape pods being launched only to be caught by flying humans who carried their occupants safely away. The humans were not just winning. They were being merciful. That, more than anything, terrified him. The Galactic Federation had never shown mercy. They had never needed to. Mercy was for the weak. But now he understood that the humans were not showing mercy because they were weak. They were showing mercy because they were so powerful that they could afford to be kind. They had nothing to fear from anyone. "I accept," Zethorn said. The words tasted like ash in his mouth. "I surrender." 1 year after the surrender, the galaxy was a different place. The Galactic Federation no longer existed. In its place, a new organization was forming, one based on cooperation rather than conquest, on partnership rather than subjugation. They called it the Galactic Commonwealth, and at the center of this new order stood humanity. Ambassador Crystal, now the official representative of the Veloran people, walked through the halls of the newly built Commonwealth headquarters on Earth. The building was massive, designed to accommodate species of all sizes and shapes. Through the windows, he could see the reconstructed skyline of New York City. The humans had rebuilt quickly. They always did. He was on his way to meet with Secretary General Chen. She had retired from military service after the war, but the people of Earth had demanded that she lead them into this new era. She had accepted reluctantly, with the understanding that it was temporary until proper democratic institutions could be established. Crystal found her in her office, surrounded by data pads and reports. Despite her new title, she still dressed simply. No fancy robes or decorations, just the plain uniform of a soldier. "Ambassador," she said, looking up, "please sit down. I hope your journey was comfortable." "Very comfortable, thank you." Crystal settled into a chair designed for his species. "I must admit, I never thought I would be visiting Earth as a guest rather than a conqueror." Chen smiled slightly. "Life is full of surprises." "Indeed," Crystal hesitated. "Secretary General, may I ask you something? Something that has bothered me since the war ended." "Of course." "During our invasion, your forces could have destroyed us completely. Your Marines had the power to kill every soldier, destroy every ship, eliminate the entire Federation military in a matter of hours. But you didn't. You accepted our surrender. You took prisoners. You even rescued our soldiers from damaged ships. He leaned forward. Why? The Federation would never have shown such mercy. If our positions had been reversed, we would have exterminated your species without hesitation. Chen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was thoughtful. Because we chose to be better, she said. Humanity has done terrible things throughout our history, Ambassador. We have murdered and enslaved and destroyed. We know what evil looks like. We know how easy it is to become the monster you fight against. She stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. When we gained the power to defeat you, we also gained the power to choose what kind of people we wanted to be. We could have been conquerors like you. We could have built an empire on the bones of those who threatened us. She turned back to face him. But we decided that we did not want to be like you. We wanted to be better. We wanted to show the galaxy that power does not have to mean cruelty, that strength does not have to mean oppression. Crystal considered her words. And that is why the other species have joined your coalition so quickly. They are not afraid of you. They should be afraid of us, Chen admitted. We are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Our history proves that. When we fight with everything we have. We do not stop. We do not give up. We will sacrifice anything for victory. Then why aren't they afraid? Chen smiled. It was a real smile this time, warm and genuine. Because they have seen that we only fight when we must. They have seen us turn our power toward healing instead of destruction. They have seen us free the enslaved, feed the hungry, rebuild the broken. They have seen that humans are not just warriors. She returned to her desk and sat down. Ambassador, would you like to know the real secret of human power? Crystal nodded eagerly. This was what he had come for, the truth behind humanity's impossible victory. We are not powerful because we have better weapons or stronger armor. Those things helped, of course. But the Federation had similar technology. Given time, you would have developed the same weapons we used. Then what is your advantage? Our advantage is that we never give up. No matter how hopeless the situation seems, no matter how overwhelming the odds, humans keep fighting. We adapt. We innovate. We find a way. You defeated a human once and they came back with a new strategy. You destroyed their weapons and they built better ones. You broke their bodies and their spirits remained unbroken. She leaned forward. The Federation was powerful because it never faced a real challenge. You conquered species that surrendered after a single defeat. You never learned how to fight against enemies who refused to submit. And humans never submit. We submit all the time, Chen laughed. We surrender, we retreat, we admit defeat, but we never stop. Even in surrender, we are planning our next move. Even in defeat, we are learning how to win next time. That is why you could never truly conquer us. Even if you had destroyed our military and enslaved our people, you would have spent eternity fighting against our resistance. Thought about this for a long moment. He remembered the reports he had read about human history, the countless wars, the endless struggles, the civilizations that rose and fell and rose again. He remembered how many times humanity had faced extinction and survived. Ice ages, plagues, wars that killed millions, disasters that should have ended them. And yet they were still here, stronger than ever. You are survivors, he said slowly. You endure. We do more than endure, Chen replied. We overcome. That is what it means to be human. No matter what the universe throws at us, we keep going, and eventually we win. She pulled up a holographic display showing the current state of the galaxy. Hundreds of freed worlds glowed with new light. Trade routes connected species that had been enemies for thousands of years. The old order was gone, replaced by something new and strange and full of possibility. The Federation thought they were the masters of the galaxy, Chen said. They thought they had reached the peak of civilization, but they had stopped growing. They had stopped changing. They had become rigid and brittle, and when they finally faced a real challenge, they shattered. And humanity. We are just getting started, Chen smiled. There is so much to explore, so much to learn, so much to build. The galaxy is a vast and wonderful place, Ambassador, and we are going to see all of it. Felt something he had never expected to feel, hope. For the first time in his life, he looked forward to the future, not because he expected to conquer it, but because he wanted to be part of something greater than himself. Secretary General, he said, I believe I understand now. The other species follow humanity not because you conquered us, but because you showed us a better way. You gave us hope. Chen nodded. That was always the plan. We didn't want to rule the galaxy. We wanted to free it. And now that it's free, we want to help it grow. But surely you must have some ambition beyond this, some goal for humanity's future. Chen thought for a moment. Then she stood and walked to a special display case on the wall of her office. Inside was a worn and faded flag, the flag of Earth, carried by the first Marine to set foot on the Eternal Dominion during the battle. Humanity has always had one goal, she said. We want to go further than anyone has gone before. We want to know what lies beyond the next horizon. We want to understand the universe and our place in it. She touched the glass gently. The stars called to us even before we left our own planet. We dreamed of them. We wrote stories about them. We built machines to carry us toward them. And no matter what obstacles we faced, we never stopped reaching. And now that you have the power to reach anywhere. Chen turned back to him with eyes that burned with the same fire he had seen in the Marines during the battle, the fire of human determination. Now we keep reaching. There are galaxies beyond this one. There are mysteries we cannot even imagine. There are wonders waiting to be discovered and challenges waiting to be overcome. She smiled. The Galactic Federation spent 12,000 years conquering 400 species. Humanity will spend the next 1,000,000 years exploring the entire universe. And when we reach the edge of creation, we will find a way to go further. Crystal rose from his chair. He understood now why the humans had won. It was not their weapons or their armor or their technology. It was their spirit, their unbreakable, unstoppable, eternal spirit. Thank you, Secretary General, he said. I believe I have learned something valuable today. What is that, Ambassador? I have learned that the Federation was never destined to rule the galaxy. We were merely holding a place for you until you were ready to claim it. Chen shook her head. We don't want to rule, Ambassador. We want to share. The galaxy belongs to all of us, every species, every world, every being who looks up at the stars and dreams. She extended her hand. It was a human gesture, Crystal knew, a symbol of friendship and partnership. He took it. Then let us share it together, he said. Let us build something that will last forever. Chen's grip was strong and warm. That sounds like a plan. As the ambassador left the office, General Chen, Secretary General Chen, she reminded herself, stood alone with her thoughts. Through the window she could see ships rising toward the heavens. Some carried humans. Some carried other species. All carried the hope of a new beginning. She thought about the soldiers who had died in the war. She thought about the billions who had lived in fear during those terrible hours when the Federation fleet had hung over their world. She thought about the Marines who had risen from the earth like angels of vengeance to save their home. They had won. Against all odds, against an enemy that had never known defeat, humanity had won. But victory was not enough. Victory was only the beginning. Chen picked up a data pad and began reviewing the reports from the exploration teams. Beyond the borders of the old Federation, there were thousands of unexplored systems. Strange phenomena waited to be studied. Ancient mysteries waited to be solved. New friends, and perhaps new enemies, waited to be met. The galaxy had thought humanity was a small, primitive species barely worth noticing. They had learned otherwise. Now it was time for the universe to learn the same lesson. Humanity was just getting started. In the marine bases around the world, soldiers trained with their Project Prometheus armor. The suits that had once been secret weapons were now standard issue. Every Marine was a walking fortress, capable of surviving in any environment and defeating any foe. But they trained not for conquest. They trained for protection. They trained to be guardians. The first generation of humans to reach the stars had been warriors. The next generation would be explorers, scientists, diplomats, and after them would come builders, artists, dreamers. Each generation would go further than the last. Each generation would face new challenges and overcome them. Each generation would add their achievements to the endless story of humanity. And that story would never end. In the depths of space, a human ship entered a system that no Federation vessel had ever visited. On its bridge, a young captain looked at the unknown stars with wonder in her eyes. She was only 25 years old, born during the years when Project Prometheus was being developed in secret. She had grown up knowing that humanity might face extinction. Now she was among the first humans to venture beyond the known galaxy. "Helm," she said, "take us in. Let's see what's out there." The ship moved forward into the unknown. Behind it, the light of Earth's sun faded into the distance. Ahead lay infinity. And humanity followed as they always had, as they always would. The war had been won, but the journey was just beginning. Somewhere in the endless darkness between galaxies, something ancient stirred. It had slept for billions of years, waiting for a species worthy of its attention. It had watched the rise and fall of countless civilizations. It had seen empires born and die. Now it watched humanity with growing interest. These creatures were different. They did not conquer for power. They did not destroy for pleasure. They explored because they wanted to know. They built because they wanted to create. They fought only when they had no other choice. And when they fought, they won. The ancient being considered its options. It could remain hidden, watching from the shadows as it always had. It could reveal itself and test these newcomers. It could even try to destroy them before they grew too strong. But as it studied the humans, as it observed their courage and their kindness and their unbreakable will, it realized something. These creatures might be worthy allies. For the first time in eons, the ancient being felt curiosity. It wondered what humanity would do if they discovered they were not alone in the universe, truly alone. It wondered how they would react to beings that made the Galactic Federation look like children playing with toys. It decided to wait. It decided to watch. It decided to see what these humans would become. And in its ancient, alien heart, it felt something it had not felt in millions of years. Hope. The universe was vast and full of wonders. Humanity had only just begun to explore it, but somewhere in the endless dark, something was watching them with approval. To the stars, humanity, to the stars and beyond. Forever,